The penultimate session for today is by Rishikesh Joshi, founder of Sports for All. A veteran in the sports industry, Rishikesh holds a master's in sports management from the Edith Cowan University. Skilled in business development, marketing strategy, sponsorship, sports, and sports marketing, he has previously worked with Mumbai Indians. Today, as he joins us for a keynote address, he will share insights on the power of trust in enhancing reputation. Joining him on stage for a fireside chat after his keynote address will be Neha Rastogi, founder of WordsWork Communications. Rishikesh, may we have you on stage, please?
They are doing a fantastic job promoting sport at the school level, at the grassroots levels.
I would say that we are no less than boys. We are achieving so much in last few years, and a lot of girls have done great for the country.
Over 600 schools, over 17,000 kids participating in 25 sports for one trophy.
You know, sports and education can go hand in hand. We are not only trying to make champions, we are also trying to make holistic human beings.
I'm glad that there is some platform for the kids and for the teachers to interact with the parents.
I think it's as good as the Olympic Games for me.
Never seen so much talent here and so much potential. So maybe the next Usain Bolt is from India.
I was blown away at what SFA is doing for the community and for these children.
I think SFA is doing a fantastic job to create a platform for children to really be the best that they can be in a sport that they are massively passionate for.
So I think you guys are really lucky. I really hope you make full use of this opportunity, okay? Because ये हमारे को नहीं मिली थी.
अब जीतेगा इंडिया.
अब जीतेगा इंडिया.
अब जीतेगा इंडिया.
Good afternoon everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for having me here, and I am supposed to be speaking on the word trust and how trust enhances the reputation of brands is really the topic. But what I was trying to show you here is a little snippet of the work that we do, and we are called by the name of Sports for All, as you must have seen. But all of this started from frustration. It really didn't start off as an idea, or it was not only passion or anything of that sort. I've been a national level swimmer myself, and I have gone through, sports in India. I'm only 40 years old, but 33 years of my life I've spent in sport. The first 15 as an athlete, as a professional swimmer, and then I worked in international sport and the Indian Premier League for about 9 years before we began Sports for All. So why did it start out of frustration? I was very happy in the job that I was doing, and I was working at probably one of the best places in sport in India about 15 years ago, and but this was important, and I'll tell you why, and thereby how I'm going to try and build, the narrative of trust around what we do now, and so yeah, it was, India in the last 10 years has started speaking about, we got to do well at the Olympics, we've got to do well in sport. Soft power for India will come out of sport, will come, out of multiple layers that the Indian sporting pyramid have to be addressed, and thereby you saw so many leagues coming up at the national level and at the international level, starting from the IPL to today, the kabaddi or the football or the badminton or the volleyball leagues that have come about. But no one was paying attention to school sport. And if school sport was not going to be structured or taken care of, it wouldn't have worked. It would never work to build the foundation of the Indian sporting pyramid. And that is the reason why this started out of frustration, because as we see, school sport, pretty much was this. This is what used to be written about in the papers. Then our young children would play. And these are literally articles from the newspapers back in 2013, 2014, and I think, SFA took birth in 2015. And when that kind of started, this is the reason. I mean, when we begin week, we finish week. And so after experiencing all of these systems at the grassroots level, at the school level, and then going up, like myself, going from school level up to the national level to represent the state and the country at swimming, I realized, what is the gaps in, our grassroots level or school sporting ecosystems, and only to realize that, it's all fractured, it's all fragmented, and imagine a child and its parent, at the age of 5, 7, 8, when they grow up, everyone's like, play sport, but what am I supposed to do? Where do I go? So it starts with, your friend telling you something, or your coach telling you something, or your teacher telling you something, but there is no real system or pathway that will allow you to take the next steps in sport seamlessly and grow. And then all of this was happening as well, right? I mean, this is the story of our very own Neeraj Chopra today. He started off from this, and imagine if at the lowest levels of, or the first experiences that children have with sport, if they are the better experiences, then probably they'll get attracted to sport even sooner, and we would not have to force them to play sport. So yeah, and to do this, right, the video that you saw, and to be able to achieve that required a freedom. It was like a movement, it was like a freedom struggle of sorts, because I personally started going from school to school, and I probably must have visited about 400 schools in the first 3 months of us starting Sports for All. And while I started speaking to teachers or to coaches or to parents, I only to understand that they're clueless, and they are like, okay, we don't trust you. Who are you, and where are you coming from? And you are saying you are going to create a radical transformation of school sport, and how do we trust you with our kids, or how do we kind of get almost 400 and 500 children from our school to play across multiple sports? And at every step you saw that there was a problem, and I've gone to about 300, 350 schools. While there was no rejection, but there was no acceptance either. Everybody agreed that there is a problem and things should be sorted, but nobody was willing to take that first step. And I think that is pretty much, the inflection point, because I'm like, okay, what will it take for you to trust me? Because I was just one individual, one person, would go from school to school carrying a bag, and we had put up a nominal fee of about 200 rupees for a child. He could play any of these 25 disciplines of sport that we offer, so it was practically coming to 8 rupees per child. But their problems were not the money, it was the trust. Only to realize that, I met a couple of people outside of school and they are like, paise mat bharo, free mein le lo, sab aa jayenge. And we made it free, and literally in the first year everybody came. So, that kind of confused me about, are they not trusting to pay me money, or are they not trusting me to send their kids and I'll take care of the kids? So it's such a vast canvas, right? It's so difficult. I think Sarika sitting here has probably seen a little bit of that story in the formative years. But yeah, so to say that, the minute you made something free, people just trusted you, and imagine, trusted you with their kids, which was really defeating, right? It was not something that you could fathom. But things changed thereafter, and today we have 7,000 schools across India. But how did all of that happen, and what was the backbone of getting there, right? I mean, so I mean, when you start off as an individual, I mean, obviously I had worked in sport for about 9 years before I started this, so obviously a few people knew me, but nobody was willing to join the company because like salary kahan se bharoge, etc., etc., etc. And there was nobody who was willing to invest either at the start, because like, I know we can put money in you, but how will you execute something like this? So at every level, right from meeting people like brands, I mean, that probably comes last in that ecosystem, because first I needed a team. The team needed to trust me to come and work to say that we'll put out something like this. Then you needed, schools, you needed coaches, you needed parents and kids, all of them to agree before you could put out something like this. And that's when I realized that, trust is an extremely intrinsic journey. It's, it's what you do every day, what you do every minute of that day, the way you make those decisions, the way you walk out there, every morning is first and foremost, you have to trust yourself. If you trust yourself to say that I'm going to do this, and today if I look back, because I'm talking here, I'm like, okay, what made me quit Mumbai Indians or the IPL and move on to do something like this? And it was like, okay, maybe I trusted myself. I had that belief in me that, some things will happen. So I think at the point that I'm trying to drive is that, when you're honest, when you walk the talk, when you, when you say that you'll do something and end up doing it, and then doing it over and over and over again, is when that trust starts to get built. And enhancing a brand's reputation, I think at the end of the day, I don't think brands work with brands or businesses work with businesses. It's people who work with people. People is something that is the backbone of every brand that you see. All the advertising that we see is more of reinforcement, but the trust gets built every time you actually interact with the human behind that brand. And that's not easy to do, but once you start doing it over and over again, the foundational trust that you build amongst its people is amazing, and then trust works like wildfire. I mean, the minute a few people start trusting you, a few more trust you, and few more trust you, and that's exactly how, from say one school to two schools, today we have 7,000 schools, and we've also been able to put this out there on frontline television or OTT, which is Geo Cinema. So school sports, we actually radically transformed it as we speak today, but I think it's just the beginning. But yeah, it really takes you to believe in yourself, you to trust yourself, because 100 things go wrong, right? 100 things will go wrong with probably the product or the service or the brand or the narrative or the communication. But you get saved from all of that if you are true to your word that you've given, not just to your clients or your consumers, but to your employees, your team members, your service providers. So the entire ecosystem kind of needs to come together to put out something like this. And the result of that is probably the next video from where school sports was, is what I showed you in the newspapers, to how people truly feel today after participating is.
SFA has organized very professionally from the enrollment to the certification distribution. Everything was very well managed, so we are really happy.
Yeah, I mean, usually the ITA structure is like you can't have so many events in one place. Like you guys have like under 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 also, I think, right? You guys are out and out professional. I'm really impressed.
There is a nice environment also here. I'm very happy they arrange here outside court, which is the in mud only.
My favorite bit was when we got that assessment where they conducted many activities. All the crew members were really supporting me on the assessment.
Really well organized tournament and a really good experience for the children. They had class because they won both their games today. But all in all, spent the day out watching so many children and each one of them competing with so much passion. I think it's just wonderful and it's so great that we have SFA in Gurgaon.
It was a lovely experience seeing a lot of kids coming from different schools, getting that killer instinct. And most important is going and enjoying themselves out there on the court. Seeing all these kids together, cheering for each other, clapping for each other is a brilliant experience.
And it's so well organized. I'm amazed at the number of sports and the opportunities for kids to participate. Hats off to SFA for doing such a fabulous job. They kept us prepped with everything that we need to be here today. The messages, everything was just on point. So thrilled to be here. Thank you so much and congratulations to Ria.
I've been to a lot of competitions in general, and all of them have provided the facilities, but SFA in general, they have the facilities, but also the hospitality that they give was really good. Like the people and their communication and how everyone was willing to help everyone, because anyone can provide facilities, but the hospitality that they give was great.
The process was easy and very clearly articulated on the website, so it was not hassle-free. We could really register very quickly.
It's a pleasure to be.
So I won't kind of go on with the video, but the crux of it is that, if you do the simple things right, if you kind of, be honest to yourself, be truthful to yourself, this is something that can happen. Today we almost employ over 7,000 people across the country to execute all of this, plus it is technology backed. And to make sure that the last mile volunteer is also exuding trust, right? Because that's the last mile volunteer that is talking to the child, the parent. And I don't even go to any of my championships any longer because it's almost impossible to be there. But yeah, I think trust and integrity are two things that you kind of live with. It's your shadow, and I think being true to yourself is extremely important, and I think I'll kind of cut it short to this point here, and happy to take the next session. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
But where were you when our hockey Olympic team years back, by the way, I'm more than half your age.
Yes.
And so that Olympic team did not have shoes, if you remember, and they played bare feet and they won. What did they have? They had trust in themselves. But that position is gone. India is no longer the hockey winner, but we should try. People like you should instill the spirit of trust and spirit to win amongst children who will strive their best to achieve what they want. Thank you very much.
So Rishikesh
Rishikesh, first of all, thank you so much for being here. You're doing some really, really important work. You come from the world of sports, of course. I come from the world of sports communications, and we're dealing with some of the best communications people here. So it's a great journey that we're going to have right now. And the first question I asked him was, coming from the world of sports, what makes you come here today to talk to people who are in communications? And we both realized that there's so much happening in our world that we should actually share that with all of you, hopefully to learn from it and also to apply it to your own work in some form or the other. So ma'am, just to let you know, the national hockey team is now in the top 5 of the world again. So that's a good sign for sure, yeah. Also, when I saw that picture of Neeraj, it reminded me of one thing which links back to what you do. And the fact was, why he got into sports was because he was an obese child. I think some of you might be knowing this story. So he was an obese child who was forced by his uncle into sports in school just to lose weight and get fit. And today, of course, he's an Olympic medalist. So a lot of what you do right now is building future Olympians. So it's incredible work that you do, and thank you so much. But going back to the topic of trust, I think I would first want to understand what in your mind is the role of trust in building someone's reputation or a brand's reputation.
So, it's a very interesting story. I have a very dear friend called Mr. Nijay Nair. He was a part of my conversations before even the first day of this began. And he's like, you'll have to put yourself out there in the media. I said, that's not something that I'm starting this for. I don't mind, the brand talking, and that's pretty much how it should flow, and nobody should be knowing me, but if they know SFA and if SFA is doing well, should be all right. He's like, no, my friend, till they don't know who's behind it, nobody's going to believe. And that was the first time then we said that, okay, I met a few journalists, and they started asking questions, ki kahan karoge, kaise karoge, etc. And I had to actually physically take them to all of these sites, do a tour, to build that first level of trust, if somebody even had to write about us. And at that point in time, that D.Y. Patil Stadium that you see, if anyone saw it, I'm sure no one must have here, but in 2014, it was like a broken construction site. I took the journalists, almost 22 odd journalists for a tour, and they're like, tum thodi na ye banaoge. So like every time I went and spoke, right, I realized that, wow, I have to do this, and continue to do it for people to believe, and that's exactly where the trust comes from. And as I said, right, the minute you start doing it, right, it starts spreading, and it starts spreading very fast, but you just can't drop the ball. So I think that is very important to know. I think sport in India in the last 10 years has seen some massive and radical changes. So, yeah.
Movement, absolutely. And you, funnily enough, have chosen something which is so glamorous, like the IPL, from being at Mumbai Indians, to get down to doing the most difficult thing in sports, which is grassroots, right? And here, when you talk about trust, you're talking about something very serious. You're talking about having the trust of schools, having the trust of parents, having the trust of the children. And there are 1,000 things that can go wrong. So it's like a landmine of potential issues, right? Yeah. So how did you deal with that over the years?
Wow, I don't know. Like today, right now, when, like up to now, 400,000 kids have played with us now. This year alone, in the last 4 months, 150,000 kids played. And I remember those 4 months, I would only sleep, hoping that nothing would go wrong next morning. But yeah, I think we've that's why I detailed out every piece of this, right? What we see here is just kids playing. And as I said, there are almost multiple processes, multiple relationships, almost 300 associations, right? At every district, right? There are sports associations. At the national level, you see a federation, but at the district level, you see an association. And all of those, now the 300, because we work in 32 disciplines of sport. So in every district that we do these championships, there are 32 different associations. And now that we're present in 10 districts, it's 320 associations. So we trained each one of them. We put out our technology. I mean, today, when I'm sitting in office, I can actually see which kid is playing where, so that we know exactly, all the safety, security measures, but at the same time, the data, the talent that, is playing, because it's not just about providing those experiences, but it's also providing a pathway. So till you don't know where you stand, you don't know how to better yourself. So working with school coaches, with, you know, all of these associations, you know, we've hired psychologists as to how to talk with kids. I don't want, you know, and it's not about me not wanting, but it's not right to tell a child that, oh, you just lost. I mean, you know, you can just say that you learned. So all of this to trickle down across this entire ecosystem, you know, is really the building blocks of something like this. So, yeah, but technology, a very strong team and a lot of background work on a daily basis, and putting out the best set of professionals. If you saw on that video, right, you saw some of these Olympians, the guys who train the US Olympians had come to the SFA championships, and we've kind of brought the best professionals to work to school sport, right? You asked me that question that you moved from the IPL to do this. If the best professionals cannot come here, it's not going to happen. And if the worst professionals work in the IPL is also going to be bad. So it's people at the end of the day. And if you can bring the best people and the best processes, I think complexities, everything is complex. It's not that it's not, but your chances of you know, problems kind of reduce. It's not that we don't have bad feedback. We do get 1-2%, right? Out of the 150,000 kids that play, at least 1,000 or 1,500 kids and their parents have not had the best experience. But are we out there trying to make sure that every day we kind of make ourselves better? Yes, because what is currently been happening, and it's prevalent in a lot of, like what you saw in those newspaper articles, was only in Bombay. In fact, across the country, there are no school sport unifying platforms at all that exist. So one, at least something is there. And the other thing that happens in this process is that, you know, I mean, things like your problems don't reduce, just the way you deal with them become better. Absolutely. So yes, we are improvising our systems every day to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Yeah.
And I think you need to have the right systems in place to make sure that, you know, these kind of situations can be avoided. But I think your heart needs to be in the right place.
Yes,
that's really
that's
important,
like
right? Now tell me something. You have spent all these years to build this massive ecosystem of so many schools, so many students, so many parents. And when I look at the other side of it, which is brand building, in the area of sports, right now corporates are looking at sports in two ways. One is purely brand building, which is the ROI you would get out of putting your logo on a shirt of a jersey of some national or international sport. But another part of it is actually reputation building, which links back to grassroots level sports initiatives, because it is in that whole process of building the country, building the nation, right? So how have corporates or how have brands benefited, or how can they benefit from being part of grassroots sports and the kind of movement that you all are creating over here in terms of their own reputation building as well?
So we have had a tough time with sponsors, I'll be honest. When you start off, but it's fine. I'm okay with it because I do understand the concern. I do understand, you know, the importance and the value of putting money into something which is not so stable, etc. I mean, today, after 9 years, we've kind of bought it onto Geo Cinema, so, you know, also making ourselves ready for sponsors. But, so we've had Tata Motors in the past, we've had Hero, we've had Byju's, we've had PlayStation, all of these sponsors. And what I realized is all of them have come there for the face time, the physical time, the emotion that can be kind of exchanged, you know, and the feeling. I mean, like I've seen, like the head of marketing of PlayStation, he had come down to, you know, see one of our championships, and he just seeing, you know, the kids feel so happy, their parents feeling the way they feel. I think his ROI was achieved when he kind of saw the feeling. And the thing is that they are in esports, right? PlayStation is all about esports and video games, and this is the kind of balance that they find. And I think that most of the brands now are, if you see, right, all of them, every digital company is now looking to have ground presence. Like if you see a Zomato, it has a Zomaland, because if you cannot interact with your customer, if you cannot be a part of his life journey in some small way, I think the recall value is very little, because you see like almost 5,000 brands across 2 or 3 sports leagues on TV across the entire, and you don't even remember one, right? Other than your title sponsor or maybe 3, 4.
So the engagement matters a lot.
The engagement it matters a lot. So I think that's pretty much what makes them feel happy.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
And the last question before we move on to the audience's questions, what do you think is the future now when it comes to grassroots level sports? I think India is in a very bright spot when it comes to taking sports more seriously and giving it that center stage. But as far as your work is concerned, where do you want to see it grow into?
See, we've set ourselves this goal that 2036 Olympics, when they come to India, I think every athlete that is participating in that Olympics.
I like the way you say when they come to India.
When they come
That's
to
the
India
confidence,
in 2036, we'd like to at least see the entire Indian contingent being touched by SFA in some form or the other. But more importantly, if we can attract children to play sport, if we can give them that and treat them with compassion rather than just, treat them as commodity. Because a lot of people, not people, I would say, a lot of businesses, etc., tend to start doing that, right? And we also sometimes don't have a choice because, the money doesn't come easy. But to kind of, find that fine balance, if we can, see India on top of the global sporting map through some of our efforts, we'll be happy because, we are a platform. We are not experts claiming that we will make a Neeraj Chopra. No. We're like, will we be able to identify 5,000 potential talents and give it to the best trainers, the best scientists, the best coaches? Yes, I think we'll be able to kind of do that. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You're doing some incredible work. We have the first question from Girish.
Hi, Hi, Rishikesh. It's commendable what you're doing. So truly congratulations for that. One of the things that we all learn in communication is the commerce. Where's the commerce? So where is the commerce in your business? That's something that we are yet to understand.
See, I started this with 80,000 rupees in my pocket, okay, and today we ended up raising some funds a couple months back at $120 million valuation. So again, trust, right? If you do the right things, the money does follow. But this is very complicated. It's not a very easy financial model to put out there because, you can't charge a child 3,000 rupees to come and play. It's like, you're telling the child, you pay me money and you only go get hurt on the field. It's not, so it's very difficult. So you have to charge nominal fees, etc. So, thereby making the property a frontline sporting property and giving it that position such that the ecosystem of sport, like, be it broadcasting or be it advertising, be it every child also pays us money, but, all the government schools or the aided schools play completely free of cost on our platform. So we do end up, making a fraction of the money that we spend at this point in time. But I think today, like we started off with one city, and today, and brands and businesses and advertisers also want pan-India presence. So now that we've reached that scale and we've also put it out, like in the faces of people, and we have the traction that we have, I think we've started to see a lot of interest, especially after our season got over in January this year. So I think the next year you'll probably see a lot of brands in those videos. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we have another question here? Any other questions? So I think the main point was scalability, right? There's a huge scope for scale and volume in the sector, which people really haven't fathomed the numbers of, right?
Yes, yes. It's like 2/3 of life is below the water, which we don't see.
Absolutely.
I think this is what it is. So, yeah.
Great. So I guess if we have no other questions, we'll wrap the session. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
It was wonderful.
Thank you
to
so
have
much
you all.
for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishikesh, for sharing your insights today. I request Neha to kindly present him with a Sparkle gift card. Thank you so much.